Welcome to a tutorial of Legends of Akeroth, a tabletop role-playing game inspired by the lost age of SNES JRPGs, as well as a number of anime and manga classics. In this video, we will walk you through all of the basic rules of the game. You can see where we are in the tutorial from the roadmap on the left of the screen, and use timestamps to hop around as needed. Let's get started. Part 1, Character Creation. Choose your class. Let's create a hero for ourselves. The first step is to choose a class. In the land of Urwick, there are 6 core classes: Healer, Mage, Rogue, Ranger, Sage, and Warrior. You can be multiple classes in this game, but only one will always be your primary or major class. As an example, let's choose the Ranger class. Every class is going to give you a starting number of hit points, HP, as well as spirit points, SP. Hit points represent your physical health, and spirit points are both your mana and stamina. You spend them to use class abilities. Each class will also get a specific increase in these point pool maximums each time they level up, and certain weapon proficiencies. Your ability to effectively engage is determined by your class's weapon proficiencies. These categories, such as light, medium, heavy, ranged, or arcane, dictate which gear you can use to their full potential. Using a weapon you are proficient in allows you to add your primary attribute to your damage and grants you access to that weapon's unique tactical traits. Your class will also give you 2 distinct class features, one of them being a powerful passive ability and the other a limit break. Limit breaks can only be used after 3 rounds of combat. Your class will also have a list of about 10 combat and 10 social perks. Class perks are specialized abilities that define a hero's combat and social style, selected at each level up to customize their growth. They provide powerful passive or active skills that expand both your combat and social options. And finally, there are jobs, which you can think of as subclasses. You can only access the jobs of your primary class, and even then, only after completing a job quest. A job quest is a collaborative narrative milestone that requires your hero to prove their resolve or make a personal sacrifice. Once the GM or Herald decides that you've completed the quest, then you unlock one of these jobs. A job at its core is comprised of a signature ability, a special limit break, which again you can only tap after the 3rd round of combat, and a list of perks that can be unlocked one at a time at each level. For the Ranger here, there are the jobs of Beastmaster, Hunter, Protector, and Sniper. When and where you unlock a job for your major class depends entirely on what kind of job quest you have agreed upon with the Herald. Choose your kin. The next step in the character creation process is to choose your kin. The core setting has 12 kin to choose from. They represent your character's ancestry and provide a core gift ability as well as a starting speed. Define your attributes. Now let's define your hero's 6 core attributes: body, gods, mind, shadow, soul, and world. They each start at 1, and you can distribute 4 points across the 6 core stats. While every hero starts with 1 in each attribute and has 4 points to distribute, classes weight their stats to maximize their role. Body and world for physical durability and survival, mind and shadow for precision and guile, or gods and soul for magical resonance and inner resolve. Here are some suggested optimal starting spreads for each core class. You can build your hero however you like, of course, and these stats will go up and change relatively quickly as you level up anyway. One important thing to note in this step is that you need to choose one of your 6 attributes as your primary attribute. This will scale your damage in a lot of cases, as well as your class dice. Class dice are a pool of recovery resources determined by your level and primary attribute that you can spend at any time to roll and regain health points or spirit points. These dice also scale the effectiveness of your unique class features and perks, and the entire pool refreshes whenever you take a short rest. Starting equipment and resources. The next thing you'll want to do for your hero is get your basic loadout straight. This includes 1 primary weapon, which is based on your class proficiency. If you recall, our Ranger has proficiencies in light, medium, and ranged. The basic items, starting on page 117 of the core rulebook, lists weapons by type, so we can choose from there. Every hero also starts with 1 secondary item, like a shield or light weapon, as well as a set of armor. Mind the minimum body attribute requirements on armor and shields. You also start with 10d10 Dravics, which are the currency of the realm. Choose your origins. You'll next want to choose your origins. Origins are narrative descriptions of your character's background, such as being a street urchin or a noble, that you can either select from the provided table or write out yourself to define where your traveler comes from. Reason for adventure. Finally, decide on a reason for adventuring. This is a narrative detail chosen from a table or written out by the player to define the core motivation driving their traveler to leave safety and journey into the world. Leveling up. You'll earn experience points as you move through the world, specifically by finishing quests, taking down major enemies, or stumbling upon hidden shrines and ancient relics. Keep in mind that leveling up isn't something that happens the moment you hit a certain number. You'll have to wait until you can take a full 24-hour downtime in a settlement or a safe zone to actually apply those gains. Your progression follows a universal XP table where it takes 1000 XP to move from a novice to a level 2 apprentice, all the way up to a cumulative 27,000 XP if you want to reach level 10 and become a true legend. Each class levels independently, giving you the choice to either keep pouring XP into your current role or spend it to buy the first level of a brand new class to start multi-classing. Every time you level up, you'll add the specific health and spirit point gains listed for your class, such as a warrior gaining +6 HP and +1 SP. You then get to pick 2 rewards from a versatile list. You can learn a new class perk, unlock a fresh spell or aspect, pick up a job perk if you have one unlocked, or simply increase any one of your attributes by 1. Your class dice, which you use for both damage and recovery, actually grow in size as you get stronger, scaling up from a D4 at level 1 all the way to a D12 by level 9. Finally, you update your overall adventurer level, which acts as a measure of your total power and determines when you can access rare items or begin specific job quests. Part 2, making a check. 1. Defining the check. A check is required whenever a hero attempts an action where the outcome is uncertain or risky. In a group game led by a herald, the herald frames the scene, calls for a check, and determines which 2 attributes best match your approach. 2. The success formula. To perform a check, you combine the values of 2 relevant attributes and roll the number of 6-sided dice equal to that total. For example, if your character has body 3 and world 2, you roll 5d6. If a rule or the herald calls for a check that names only one attribute, such as a mind check, you roll the dice equal to that attribute added to itself. So your mind stat times 2. Any dice that come up as a 5 or a 6 count as a success. Every roll falls into one of 3 success bands that determines how the story progresses. If you roll 0 successes, you fail to achieve your goal and suffer a meaningful consequence. This might include lost time, a new complication, or a resource strain like losing 1 HP or SP. 1 to 3 successes on a roll is a mixed success. You achieve the goal, but the success is imperfect. It comes with a cost, compromise, or setback, such as attracting unwanted attention or suffering minor equipment wear. 4 or more successes is a full success. You succeed completely and cleanly. Your intent is fully realized with no negative consequences or costs. 3. Boons and Banes. Not every task is equal. External factors such as using high-quality tools, receiving help from an ally, or struggling through poor conditions like heavy rain or darkness grant boons or banes to your check. These modifiers allow you to manipulate the dice results after they land. A boon allows you to turn one rolled die, showing a 4, into a 5, effectively creating a success where there wasn't one. A bane forces you to turn one die that's showing a 5 into a 4, removing a success from your total. Before you roll, calculate the total environment. Boons and banes cancel each other out on a 1-to-1 basis. If you have 2 boons and 1 bane, you simply roll with 1 boon. 4. The group check. When the entire party tackles a single challenge together, such as sneaking past a bandit camp or bracing a collapsing tunnel, you perform a group check. To do that, each hero contributes 1 relevant attribute, not 2, to determine their individual d6 pool. Every player rolls their pool, and the total number of successes from the entire party is added together. To keep challenges fair for larger groups, the threshold for a full success increases. For a party of 3 or more heroes, the requirement rises by +1 success for each hero beyond the second. For example, a 2-hero party needs 4 successes for a full success, a 3-hero party needs 5 successes, and a 4-hero party needs 6. 5. Hero points. Hero points represent sudden bursts of courage, luck, or adrenaline. Every player starts a session with 1 hero point and can hold a maximum of 3 at any time. You gain them by doing something heroic in the fiction, embodying your character's flaws or ideals in a powerful way, delivering a dramatic moment, or completing some kind of milestone or revelation. You can spend these points to tip the scales in your favor. For 1 point, you can add a boon to your current check to increase your success chances. 1 point will also grant an ally either 1 extra d6 to their roll or a boon to their next check. For 2 hero points, you can re-roll all the dice in your check. You have to accept the second results though. And for 3 hero points, you can narratively shift the scene entirely, such as discovering a hidden exit just as the guards arrive, or realizing a distant contact is actually in the room to help you. Part 3. Combat. In Legends of Akeroth, combat is rarely just about reducing an enemy's HP to 0. Victory is defined by your objective. This might mean driving the ogre away, escaping the collapsing ruin with the map, or simply stalling for 3 rounds until the protective ward completes. To keep the story moving, heroes always act first unless the party is explicitly caught in a surprise attack. Players simply discuss their strategy and decide amongst themselves who acts in what order. Tactical mode. Think of tactical mode as a classic JRPG battle menu. Time stops and allows you to assess the battlefield, reposition your traveler, and prepare your strategy before you close the menu and execute actions. On your turn, you have 2 actions to spend. You can perform the same action twice or mix and match from the following. You can cast, which allows you to perform any non-offensive spell, rite, or melody to help your allies or change the environment before the fighting starts. You can engage, which is how you initiate an attack with a weapon or an offensive battlecast spell, transitioning you into a duel with a single enemy within your reach. More on duels in a minute. You can use an item, which lets you utilize a tool or consumable from your inventory. You can interact with the world around you, which is the catch-all action for pulling levers, opening heavy gates, or manipulating objects to solve puzzles mid-combat. You can support your team by taking the guard action to grant yourself 2 extra points of defense, or by using a class ability that assists an ally without entering a duel. You can trigger a limit break, which is a high impact class ability that becomes available to use once per combat after at least 3 full rounds of combat have passed. You can choose to hold, which ends your turn immediately by spending both of your actions to gain 1 point of tempo and 3 points of defense, while also cutting the damage of the very next hit you take in half. And finally, of course, you can move, allowing you to reposition your traveler a number of spaces up to your speed stat, though you must complete your entire movement at once rather than breaking it up between other actions. If you're using a gridded map for a conflict, note that you can only move up, down, left, and right. To move to a diagonal square requires 2 squares of movement. Zone combat serves as a simplified encounter system in Legends of Akeroth, designed for faster play and narrative-focused battles where exact measurements aren't necessary. Instead of tracking precise squares on a grid, the battlefield is divided into 3 distinct areas: the Allied Zone, your backline; the Clash, the contested middle where melee combat happens; and the Enemy Zone, the opposing side's backline. Everyone in the battle occupies one of these 3 spaces, and a zone becomes an active battle whenever both sides share the same space. While speed and range don't dictate movement in the same way that they do on a grid, they still influence which zones you can effectively hit. This system keeps all of the core features of the game, like weapon triangles, counters, and defense breaks, but makes them much easier to track during solo play or Theater of the Mind sessions. Duel mode. A clash between combatants can be resolved using the duel mode. This is a single exchange of damage by identifying the matchup between 5 weapon types: arcane, blade, bow, breaker, and lance. For melee combat, you use the melee triangle to determine if you have the edge, where beating your opponent's type grants a boon to step up your damage die, while being beaten by theirs places a bane on you to step it down. It should be noted that Boons and Banes will stack, so if you have some Boons and Banes from other things, they will cumulatively add up to affect your die type, but you can't go lower than D4 or higher than D20. To resolve the strike, you roll your weapon's damage die or dice. If you're rolling multiple dice for your damage, then you will look to the first or leftmost die as the one that determines if you miss, hit, or crit. A roll of 1 is an automatic miss, while rolling the maximum value of that die triggers a critical hit, allowing you to roll and add an additional die of the same size. Damage is first subtracted from the target's def value before affecting their health points, but if an attack reduces their def to 0, it causes a defense break that grants attackers boons and increases critical chances until the end of the afflicted target's next turn, or the end of the next hero or enemy's round, depending on who broke who. Unlike physical weapons, spells cannot score critical hits, nor can they miss unless you roll a 1. This makes them a consistent tactical choice that ignores the complexities of the weapon triangle. Any defender still standing after a melee attack can immediately perform a counterstrike if you're within their weapon's range. These counters are unique because they ignore the weapon triangle and can't score critical hits, but they are a dangerous way for a defender to get a clean hit back at you. Counters don't start a new duel, but they can still inflict defense break if the weapon or effect allows for it. If in the course of your fight you reach 0 HP, you gain a wound and enter the dying state, which restricts you to taking only 1 action on your turn. You have to be careful from there, because while you can be healed back up, reaching a total of 6 wounds means your hero has officially met their end. The tempo system. To help you manage the flow of battle, you'll use the tempo system, which tracks how far ahead or behind you are in the rhythm of a fight. You'll start every combat at 0 tempo, but your choices can move you between a maximum of +3 and a minimum of -3. When you need to brace yourself, you can use 2 actions to hold, which grants you 1 point of tempo and 3 points of defense until your next turn, while also halving the damage of the very next hit you take. Once you've built up that momentum, you can drive at the start of your turn to spend your stored tempo and take additional actions beyond your normal limit. For every 1 point of tempo you spend, you gain 1 extra turn immediately, and you can even drive into negative tempo values to finish off an enemy. You can spend up to 3 tempo at a time. Just be careful to not overextend yourself. If your tempo drops below 0, you can't act at all until your rhythm returns to normal. While you are in that negative state, you are considered exposed, and you'll simply regain 1 point of tempo for each turn you are forced to skip. Magic and spells. Magic in Legends of Akeroth operates at 2 distinct speeds. Spells, which are decisive techniques used within the flow of combat turns, and rites, which are larger workings that reshape entire scenes. Every spell is categorized by an aspect, such as Arcanum, Divine, or Voidcraft, which determines its tone and who can learn it. When using magic, players choose between 2 primary modes of casting. Battle Cast, which is fast, this targets a single enemy within 5 squares and initiates a duel. While Battle Cast spells cannot score critical hits or trigger counters, they do provide a guaranteed hit for at least 1 damage, even on a poor roll. Field Cast is wide. This targets an entire area using templates like cones, lines, or spheres. Field casting requires a spellcasting check. A full success deals the full damage to all in the area. A mixed success deals half damage or effect, and a failure results in a wasted turn, though no SP is lost. To further customize these effects, casters can spend additional spirit points, SP, on augmentations. These allow you to empower the spell to increase its damage die size, use distance to increase range, or apply the careful augment to ensure your magic only strikes enemies and spares your allies within the targeted area. Rites. When you need to work magic on a grander scale, you perform a rite, which is a world-shaping act of will designed to reshape a scene rather than deal damage. These aren't simple spells. They're used to open paths, bind threats, or alter environments in extreme ways. To perform a rite, you must first choose an anchor, which is the specific part of reality your magic binds to, whether that's a memory, a living creature, or physical stone and earth. Next, you choose an attribute based on your magic's aspect, such as mind for Arcanum or gods for divinity, to determine how your power manifests. The complexity of your magic is defined by its magnitude. which you choose to set the depth of the change you're attempting. Momentary effects are for small fleeting changes. Enduring rites hold a doorway or delay a flood. Transformative workings can raise barricades or reshape entire streets. Mythic rites are the most powerful, capable of altering entire districts or calling down storms. Once you declare your intent, you roll a check using your aspect's associated attribute plus your primary attribute. A full success means the rite manifests cleanly for the scene, while a mixed success means it manifests imperfectly and might be short-lived or unstable. If you fail, you only pay half the spirit point cost, but the anchor resists and introduces a complication. If a task is too great for one person, you can perform a group casting, where multiple spellcasters pool their SP and roll together. Even non-spellcasters can help by spending hero points to contribute their own resolve to the circle. Rest and recovery. Between major encounters, you'll need to recover through two types of rest, the short rest and downtime. You can take up to 3 short rests a day, and after about an hour of catching your breath, you can roll your class die to regain some health. If you're lucky enough to be in a safe spot, this also refills your entire class dice pool and resets any of your once per rest abilities, though your limit breaks will stay spent until you find a proper settlement. For a full recovery, you'll need downtime, which is a 24-hour stay in a safe zone or town that completely restores your HP and spirit. This is also your chance to level up, shop for gear, or take on up to 3 downtime activities like training or crafting before you head back out into the wild. Part 4. Travel. Waymates. If you're adventuring solo or with a small group, you can bring along Waymates, supporting heroes who fill out your party without the complexity of a full character sheet. These companions are entirely controlled by the players, meaning you decide their mechanical actions while the Herald handles their roleplay. Building a Waymate is straightforward. You assign them a class and kin, but instead of tracking deep talent trees, they gain a small fixed set of perks as they level up. They don't track inventory or consumables, and they usually can't gain or spend tempo, keeping your focus on the main hero. In combat, Waymates are just as streamlined. They take only one of 2 actions: move or roll on the action table. You can either roll a d6 to let them act automatically, or spend both of their actions to pick a specific technique from their table manually. Like your main hero, they can have 1 limit break, which they can unleash once after the 3rd round of combat is passed to help turn the tide of a tough fight. Journeys. When your adventure takes you out into the wild, you'll transition into the journey phase, which covers everything that happens as you travel over land or by river between settlements. During this time, the gear you carry is vital. Having the right adventuring equipment like light sources for dark caves or wilderness kits for camping can turn difficult checks into easy ones or even eliminate the need for a roll entirely. Your group will also need to decide on a marching order, specifically choosing who will act as the vanguard, the middle, and the rear. This is more than just flavor. The vanguard is responsible for spotting forward threats and making the necessary checks to keep the party safe from traps or ambushes. The speed of your travel is determined by your travel pace, which you can set to fast, normal, or slow. With fast pace, you cut your travel time in half, but your party suffers a 2d6 penalty to any perception or stealth checks along the way. At normal pace, you move at a standard rate with no specific modifiers to your rolls. And at a slow pace, travel takes twice as long, but the extra caution grants you a plus 2d6 bonus to perception or survey-related checks. Finally, the world itself will push back through events on the way. At the end of each travel segment, the Herald may roll on an event table to see what you encounter and if your vanguard is doing their job. A successful check will give your party a crucial turn to prepare before the event unfolds. That covers the core fundamentals to get your first adventure started, but we've really only scratched the surface of what Legends of Akeroth has to offer. There are several advanced systems we didn't cover in this tutorial, including detailed crafting rules, the mechanics for weather and environmental hazards, and the deep solo mode tools like the Oracle and Muse for playing without a Herald. You can find the complete rules for these systems along with the full list of kin, class perks, and world lore in the Legends of Akeroth core rulebook. That book, as well as character sheets, reference guides, and all other resources you need to begin your journey are available at the links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your travels through the land of Urwick.